Hey, gentlemen, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for another devotional. Shout out today to Sean Wheeler in East London, South Africa. Thanks for getting off the spiritual bench and getting into the game, leading men. We love you. We appreciate what you're doing. And this devotional is for you today, but it's one that you may not like. This is John chapter 10, verse 6. It reads, "This figure of speech," so parables, Jesus used with them, that's the spiritual leaders of Israel, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So fellas, in context, remember Jesus was speaking to some religious leaders that were standing around, and he's coming down very hard on them, and rightly so. I mean, Jesus is the great high priest, right? They are leading his church, and it's his flock, and his concern is always going to be for his people. Therefore, any spiritual leader who has strayed from the truth and is doing harm to Jesus's people, intentionally or not, that's concerning to Jesus. Now, keep in mind, at this point in the Gospel of John, we know of only one spiritual leader who's even willing to test the message of Jesus against the Scripture. I mean, only one man sneaks out at night to inquire about Jesus. Do you remember who that was? It was Nicodemus, back in John chapter 3. But in John's story, he is the only interested spiritual leader. And we know that there is at least 70 approximate spiritual leaders on the Sanhedrin, and at least another 1,000 approximate priests who serve in the temple. Out of this, there is only one we know of who even considered Jesus' message. And I think this is a strikingly small percentage. It's infinitesimal. It's tiny. Therefore, this stern warning was an important warning, was it not? And I think this might be even applicable in the same ratio today, but I'll let Jesus decide that for himself. And you'll notice, these spiritual leaders don't get it. They don't understand that Jesus is actually calling them thieves and robbers, even though Jesus uses one of the simplest metaphors in the entire Bible, a farming metaphor that an agrarian people would have known. In fact, spiritual leaders were in constant contact with sheep all the time. And here's the point. Fellas, we are all deceived at some level. Our perceptions are easily affected by disinformation. And the reason this happens is because we don't put ourselves in front of objective truth. And when we are not regularly exposing ourselves to the objective truth of Scripture, we grow accustomed to our perverted version of the truth. Therefore, we don't see the truth when it looks us right in the face, which is what it's doing in this moment. Jesus is looking them right in the face, telling them the truth. So, gentlemen, when I read a text like this as a spiritual leader, I am so convicted by it. And I want to ensure that I am in no way believing or teaching or directing you toward any of my own deceptions, theological creations formed by my own self-deceptions. But there is a way to overcome all this. It's by doing these things. Read Scripture. Accept it as the objective truth. When you read it and encounter a self-deception, then confess it and act quickly on this new objective reality. That's it. Do that every day. It's good for you. I love you guys. I pray this blessed you. If it has, share it with someone else. And I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.